Hello and welcome to Wikipedia and Medicine, our Metropolitan New York Library Council webcast. I'm the Wikipedian in residence and Open Data Fellow here at Metro. Before we get started today, I'd like to point out a few features of the webinar for you and introduce our speakers for today. With increased fortitude, Wikipedia has collaborated with scientists, researchers, and medical librarians, as well as medical and healthcare databases, health institutes, and consumer research laboratories to improve the quality and content of Wikipedia's health information. Aspects of this engagement have included the development of programs to increase the numbers of physicians and scientists contributing to Wikipedia, improving the quality of references in medical articles, and creating Wikipedia residency projects that pair Wikipedian scientists with institutions to encourage large-scale content contributions. So today we have an exciting panel of 4 speakers. We'll be starting today with James Heilman. James is a Canadian emergency room physician and the current president of Wiki Project Med Foundation, which he'll be explaining to you. And then we'll have Sydney Kaur. Sydney is the current Wikipedian in residence at the Cochrane collaboration, which she'll be talking about. Next, we'll have Lane Raspberry, Wikipedian in residence at Consumer Reports in Yonkers, New York. And concluding the webinar, we'll have Carl Friedrich Schoiland of Wikipedia Medical Translation Project. Just a few other technical notes. To our speakers, feel free to start a chat with me at any time during this conversation if you have any administrative questions or technical issues. And to our audience, feel free to be tweeting us at MNYLC. You can also tweet directly at me, Dorothy R_Howard, and I'll be monitoring Twitter during the webcast. And we will be keeping an eye on those tweets and addressing them at the end of today's session. This session will be recorded, and I will include a link to that recording in a follow-up email to you all, and it will also be available on the Metro YouTube channel. Now I'll turn things over to James.
Great. Thank you for the introduction, Dorothy. So I'm going to speak about what role, what place Wikipedia fills in medicine. So a little bit about myself. I'm a small-town emergency room physician. I live in the corner of this great big province called British Columbia, a long way from my university. I first became involved with Wikipedia back in 2007, 2008. I was working a night shift, looking around the internet, and I came across this article that was horrible. It was full of errors. And I saw an edit button. I hit the edit button, and I realized that I could fix the internet. And I have been very involved ever since. So, first question is, does the internet matter? And there's some really interesting data looking at where people get their national and their international news and how this has changed over time for different age groups. And what one notices is back in 2000, the primary source of news was television and the internet. However, over the last 10 to 15 years, this has really changed, and television and newspapers are no longer the primary source of information for those under the age of 50. The primary source of information is now the internet. Now, with respect to healthcare, if one was to, say the average, so they've surveyed Americans and they've found that the average person sees their doctor about 3 times a year. And if one estimates that, each person gets about 15 minutes with their physician at each visit, if we're generous, we're saying that the average person gets 1 hour a year with their physician. Now, if one looks at the amount of time they spend searching for healthcare information online, one finds that the average person spends 52 hours a year in the United States looking up healthcare information. So, first question, is Wikipedia read by nearly everyone? And, we have some good data that argues yes. So, some numbers. Wikipedia is the most popular reference work. It's the 5th most popular website globally, the first 4 being Google, Facebook, YouTube, and Yahoo. Wikipedia gets about 500 million visitors per month, which look at 21 billion pages. About 30% of these views are currently from mobile, and we've seen a dramatic increase in mobile readership over time. Now, with respect to medicine, specifically, the previous data was for Wikipedia as a whole. If we just look at the subsection of Wikipedia that is medicine, this is about 160 articles, or 160,000 articles across 250 languages. This content in 2013 got about 5 billion page views, or 2 to 3% of all page views for Wikipedia as a whole. With respect to this readership, half of the medical readership occurs on the English Wikipedia, and half of the readership occurs in those other languages. So Wikipedia's medical content is more popular than the average Wikipedia content. Who is using Wikipedia? There's been a number of surveys of people both in the developed and the developing world, and they've found that between 50 to 100% of physicians are using Wikipedia in clinical practice, depending on the surveys one looks at. About 35 to 70% of pharmacists admit to its use. And a recent survey looking at medical students found that Wikipedia was the single most used resource by medical students. More so in their first years of medical school, less so in their final years of medical school. Also, it's a common source of information for both journalists and policymakers. And we know that policymakers and journalists are using Wikipedia as, we catch them borrowing our content without a proper attribution from time to time. So, why do 94% of medical students turn to Wikipedia? And these aren't surveys of students in the developing world. This was a survey of students at one of the top medical schools in the United States. These are students who have access to world-class libraries. They have access to up-to-date. They have access to librarians. However, they state they turn to Wikipedia because, 1, it's easy to access. 2, it's understandable. And 3, it is consumer friendly. So now, if one is to compare the popularity of Wikipedia with respect to other top viewed medical resources, we looked at Wikipedia viewership in a number of different ways. We looked at Wikipedia viewership based on data from SimilarWeb, and we looked at Wikipedia viewership based on Wikipedia's own internal numbers. And using both those calculations, Wikipedia does appear to be the single most used internet resource for healthcare information globally, which is both interesting and scary at the same time. An interesting example is specifically Ebola. I've started working with a researcher from Microsoft, and I asked him the question, this last year, what website has been the single most used internet site for the 3 countries that have had the most number of cases of Ebola? And those 3 countries, of course, are Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea. And Wikipedia turns out to be the single most used resource in all 3 of those countries. It received more page views than CNN, than the CDC, or the World Health Organization. So really a powerful method to get information out to those who potentially need it most. On to the next point. Does Wikipedia cover nearly everything? And I think we can also argue that it's really getting there. If one was to take English Wikipedia and print it out, this is what it would look like. Here over on the left-hand side, we have a gentleman about 6 feet in height, and beside them we have this bookshelf, where each one of the little blue squares, it equals 1 volume of the Encyclopedia Britannica. So it would take 2,000 volumes of the Encyclopedia Britannica to print out English Wikipedia in May of 24. This doesn't include all the other languages. Now, if one was to do the same thing, but just for the medical content of Wikipedia, and this is not just for the medical content in English, this is for the medical content in all languages, one would need 127 volumes of the Encyclopedia Britannica. So really a lot of information out there. Next question, does Wikipedia have a huge number of editors, and who writes Wikipedia? And with respect to the number of editors, Wikipedia sort of has a lot of editors, but sort of does not. With respect to Wikipedia generally, anyone can edit Wikipedia, but not everyone does. We see that about 80,000 people contribute about 5 edits a month. 12,000 people contribute more than 100 edits a month, and these, of course, are all volunteers and all working for free. Now, with respect to the core community of medical editors, this is much, much smaller. We looked at the number of people who made more than 250 edits to medical articles in 2013, and we found that the number of people who did this was 270 across 250 languages. Half of this core group of editors were working in English, so we're looking at less than 150 people managing English Wikipedia's medical content. Who are these individuals? We surveyed them this last year, and we found that about half are healthcare providers, half have a master's, PhD, or MD. Another 33% have a bachelor's degree. So really a highly educated group of individuals. One concerning finding we have found is that 80% are male, 10% are female, and 10% either describe themselves as other or rather not say. Why Wikipedians are a majority male and a minority female is an interesting question which we don't exactly know the answer to at this point in time. Now, a master's student did a research study looking at why Wikipedia's core editors edit as they do. And she found 3 main motivations. One is that these individuals feel positively about Wikipedia. 2, they enjoy spending their time summarizing and writing about the world's knowledge. And 3, they feel that Wikipedia is both a good way to learn their profession, plus they feel a responsibility to the world's public. They feel a personal responsibility to provide high-quality healthcare content to everyone out there, because currently that doesn't exist. One of the concerning things we have found is we've looked at how editor numbers for Wikipedia's medical content have changed over time. And we have found that there's been a significant decrease in Wikipedia editors between 2008 and 2013. This is specifically looking at the number of editors who made at least 1 edit to medical content. This graph looks just the same for 10 edits, for 100 edits, for 250 edits, for 1,000 edits. So Wikipedians across all grades have fallen over the last 6 years. The fall has been much greater on English Wikipedia than on other language Wikipedias, and it's about a 40% decrease in the number of people working on Wikipedia. So I guess the question, the big question is, why is this happening? Some explanations could be that starting in 2007, Wikipedia really started requiring references much more strongly. Another could be that much of the easy content has already been written. And a third is that in 2007, 2008, Facebook became really popular. Many other Web 2.0 websites occurred. So there's right now there's many sites people can contribute to within the Web 2.0 sphere, not just Wikipedia. So, the question I often get from academics is Wikipedia reliable? And the answer is sort of yes, sort of no. Our foundation is Wikipedia is not about truth, it's about verifiability. And, we really could use more research on this question. What we recommend, to succeed at Wikipedia, you need to reference. If only our politicians did that. If we look, this is a great deal of text here. If we look, this is the causes section of our article on schizophrenia. What we notice that basically every line is followed by the little blue number. That little blue number is a reference. We reference much more densely than an academic journal. we reference much more densely than a textbook. And the reason why is we're not able to verify who our editors are, so our content really needs to stand on the sources that we're using. Now, an encouraging finding since 2009, we looked at the total number of references supporting Wikipedia's medical content, and we have found that the total number of references has nearly tripled between 2009 and 2013, and Wikipedia is almost supported by 1 million references back at the end of 2013. What are our most used sources? What we find is, our most used sources for journals are the world's most respected journals, so that's encouraging as well. Wikipedia does have a semi-formal peer review process. But less than 1% of our articles have passed this formal peer review process. The number of articles that have passed the semi-formal peer review is higher for our more important content. One interesting initiative we've been working on here the last few years is we're looking at introducing formal peer review to Wikipedia. So basically, editors take a Wikipedia article to Wikipedia's own featured article status. They then submit it to an open access journal for formal peer review and publication. And this gets academic credit for Wikipedians, plus it improves the reliability of Wikipedia. Our first article was published on October 2nd of 2014. Our article on dengue fever went through this process. Now, I'm not going to speak about one project. We're working on many projects, and my collaborators are going to speak about a few others. This one here is particularly dear to my heart. It's the medical translation project. And basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a core set of high-quality articles in English, and we're working to translate them into as many other languages as possible. We've had some success. We're working in about 100 languages. We've translated about 4 million words at this point in time with our partners, Translators Without Borders and Rubric, and we would love more volunteers to support us on this. With respect to some of the articles we're translating, here's an example of the article we're translating on rabies. We're just translating a basic 4-paragraph overview of this content from English into as many other languages as possible. Why is this needed? Many people globally do not have good access to high-quality healthcare information. So, for example, many people believe that when their child has diarrhea, rather than giving the child fluid, they should withhold them. And there's many lives that could be saved if people had easy, inexpensive access to information. Now, if we look at the internet by language, what we find is that 60% of the internet is in English, and that means that those of us who speak English are exceedingly lucky. Another 30% are in these big core 10 European languages. But if you speak many other languages, very little of the internet is in a language that you understand. 50% of the world speaks a language that's only covered by 7% of the internet. Now, Wikipedia sort of fits halfway between, the languages that people speak and, the languages the world is most commonly present in. So we still have, we're better than the internet generally, but we still have a great deal of work to do. Another project, that needs to occur to get information out to those who need it most is that those in the developing world currently have poor access to computers, they have poor access to the internet. But one encouraging silver lining that's present is that most people have access to cell phones. 6 out of 7 people globally have a cell phone. But the difficulty they face is that data charges are expensive. So one solution we're working on is the Wikimedia Foundation is working to convince cell phone companies to give Wikipedia access for free without data charges. And here's a graph, or here's a map of which countries currently have access to Wikipedia Zero. And this effort has had a great deal of success with 350 million people, most of whom would not have had access to Wikipedia before, now do have the ability to get free access through their cell phone provider. So just to finish, and let me see if I can pull this up here. Here's a video from the Wikimedia Foundation.
This is a letter which me and my classmates wrote to access to Wikipedia for free. It goes as follows.
Open letter to Celsi, MTN, Vodacom, and ATA.
We are learners in grade 12 at Silinjong High School. Joslovo Park, Milnerton, Cape Town.
We recently heard that in some other African countries like Kenya and Uganda,
Cell phone providers are offering their customers free access to Wikipedia.
We think this is a wonderful idea and would really like to encourage you also to make the same offer here in South Africa.
our school does not have a library. 90% of us have cell phones, but it is expensive for us to buy airtime.
So if we could get free access to Wikipedia, it will make a huge difference to us.
Normally, when we do research, Wikipedia is one of the best sites,
and there is information on just about every topic.
Think of the boost that it will give us as students and to the whole education system of South Africa.
Our education system needs help, and having access to Wikipedia would make a very positive difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And goes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. That's the end of my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions. Are we taking questions now, Dorothy, or are we taking them at the end?
We're taking them at the end. Yeah.
So I will hand over to Sydney.
Great. I'm just going to introduce Sydney before we move on. Thank you so much, James. Next up, we have Sydney Poor, Wikipedian in residence at the Cochrane Collaboration. Sydney?
I'm muting here. Always helps. Hello, my name is Sydney Poor, and I am, as Dorothy said, Wikipedian in residence at the Cochrane Collaboration. I've got some slides I'm going to get up here for you. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a registered nurse, and I live in Lexington, Kentucky, which is in the middle of the United States. And I'm a retired obstetrical nurse, and I first began editing Wikipedia in 2005, so I've been around for a while. I guess really the question is why, are we going out and looking for collaborations? And why is Cochrane Collaboration and Wikipedia a good collaboration? And so I think that if you take James's presentation into consideration, you can begin to understand why we need people to edit Wikipedia who have experience in medical content. And so it makes sense to go out and look for people who have the same goals as Wikipedia does. And the reason for this is because, as James pointed out, nearly everyone reads Wikipedia, including many medical people, while there's really a small number of people who regularly edit Wikipedia articles. So Wikipedians who edit the medical articles begin working together in projects, one of which is Wiki Project Medicine on Wikipedia English, and there's many others, maybe perhaps a dozen other wiki projects that exist around the topic of medicine on different wikis in different languages. And there also, as James has pointed out, a project called Wiki Project Med Foundation, which is a group of people who take an interest all across all of the wikis around the topic of health information. And so these people, we've come together to collaborate and try to find partners kind of based out of this central organization. And so whenever we started looking at what content was actually used on Wikipedia, over and over again, Cochrane Reviews came up as very popular because we understand that it's important to have medical evidence that is based on reliable sources. And Cochrane Collaboration on a regular basis now for a couple of decades has done reviews of other medical trials. and found what seems to be consensus information about what is coming out of medical research. And so the Cochrane collaboration prints these in medical journals, and so Wikipedians were finding these and adding them to medical articles. So on the Wikipedia side, it made sense for us to try to become a closer relationship with this organization that was presenting this high-quality medical evidence. Now, on the Cochrane side, they also noticed that Wikipedia was using the Cochrane Reviews quite frequently. So they also became interested in thinking about Wikipedia as a place to disseminate the results of their research. And so if I could just tell you a little bit about Cochrane itself. It is a global organization that's located in around 120 countries, in the sense that there are people from all over the world who work as researchers, health practitioners, or consumers who are in this big network collaborating. So you can see this is also very similar to the way that Wikipedia works, that we're also a global organization that have people from all different backgrounds collaborating on our medical articles. So this also makes us a really good fit for working together. And we also share a vision that's very similar of improving health content and disseminating it around the world to everyone. So our missions were very closely and well aligned. So it made sense for us to work closer together. So about 6 months ago, Cochrane decided to take the step of having a Wikipedian in residence, and so I stepped into that role. So really, like all Wikipedians in residence, my main job is to be a liaison between Wikipedians and also Cochrane collaboration. So I spend a lot of time talking to both Wikipedians and also people that are on the Cochrane side about each other and explaining how each organization works. So recently I was answering the questions, like yesterday, with the medical editor that had a lot of questions about, what someone who writes a Cochrane review, who they are, and how do they represent the organization if they speak about reviews. So I can just take the time to, go inside the organization, find him the links that he needs to read on the website, as well as find people who could answer these questions. And on the Cochrane side, I do a lot of speaking to different Cochrane groups about what Wikipedia is and the best way for them to work with Wikipedia. And recently we have launched some projects that are a little bit more formal than just individuals from inside of Cochrane beginning editing. And one of the organizations that we are working with is Students for Best Evidence. And Students for Best Evidence is an organization that is supported by the UK, United Kingdom Cochrane Center. And they are independent of Cochrane, but they are supported by them in the sense they give them financial funding and also some kind of resource support to exist on an ongoing basis. And it's a group of students in all different disciplines who are interested in evidence-based medicine. And it makes a really good fit for Wikipedia to work with students because, as James pointed out, students are people who actually use Wikipedia a lot in their studies. And also, we have known for a very long time that students also write Wikipedia. And so it makes a really good sense for us to reach out to this population and help them understand best how to use high-quality references on Wikipedia. And so we launched several months back kind of a pilot project where we had a Wikipedia Weeks where Wikipedia had an edit-a-thon where we invited students over a week's time to edit articles on the topic of using some topics that we chose to look at. And several of them were like Crohn's disease, ovarian cancer, low back pain. We just selected these as kind of a place for these editors to start. We also suggested some Cochrane reviews that may be appropriate for them put in those articles. And this was a kind of an introduction step for these students about how to use Wikipedia and also how to use Wikipedia reviews as well. In addition to students learning about evidence-based medicine and talking, they also do a lot of talking about it on their website, and they write blogs. And so a large number of blogs, I believe it was around 8 to 10, were written about Wikipedia by students during this week about how Wikipedia is a good place for health information on the internet, and just kind of their take on what it was like editing Wikipedia. So we were able also to have this outlet where students could talk to the world really about how Wikipedia works. And this is a pilot project that we are now turning into a larger project which will be launching sometime this month, where on a regular basis the UK Cochrane Center, along with Students for Best Evidence, is going to be making public what reviews they believe are beneficial to be put on Wikipedia and worked on by students. And we will then have Wikipedia editors invited in understanding what articles they're working on a regular basis, and we will collaborate together to improve the quality of content. One of the things that we have picked up on from working with these students is that it's beneficial on their side to get some type of recognition for working on Wikipedia. So I'm piloting a project where we're going to be giving out certificates of recognition to the students who are working on Wikipedia, because they have become to believe that it's something that they can be quite proud of talking about, and they like to have a way of showing this to the world that they have worked on this. So in addition to the students that I'm working with through Students for Best Evidence, I'm also working with the oral health group of reviews on Cochrane Collaboration, and we're going to be working with medical students probably in 2 different locations, one of them in Scotland and one of them in the United States, writing content about health, oral health. And in particular, I'm looking for topics, and I believe oral health is one that is very global and universal, so that we're able to get the content translated into other languages around the world. And this kind of leads into the final project that I'm working on right now with Cochrane, and that is the fact that Cochrane is also published in many different languages around the world. And we're able to go into our Wikipedia languages and ask the authors in those the Wikipedia articles in those languages what they would like, which Cochrane reviews they would like to have translated. So right now I'm working with the Portuguese language to identify the medical articles that they're working on and what Cochrane reviews they would like to have translated into Portuguese, so that we can then help them improve the articles and let the readers of the Portuguese language go to references that are cited in English, not in English, but in Portuguese, or in both as well. So those are several of the different projects that I'm working on, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that anyone has at the end of the presentation. And if you'd like to get a hold of me, you can do it through this.
We'll make sure to put everyone's emails somewhere in the documentation of the webcast, or otherwise ways to contact people, so that any of our listeners today can get in contact with our speakers. Thank you so much, Sydney, and that was very informative. Next, we're going to move on to Lane Raspberry. Lane is the Wikipedian in residence at Consumer Reports in Yonkers, New York. Lane, I'll let you take over.
Sure. My name is Lane. Yonkers is near New York City, by the way. Consumer Reports is a non-profit organization. And can you hear me? Thumbs up, please. It's okay. So Consumer Reports is a non-profit organization. It's a media organization that, among other things, disseminates health information. I came to Consumer Reports on the premise that if people are going to Wikipedia for health information, and if an organization that's in the business of providing health information wants to reach people who want that information, then if you put the information on Wikipedia, you will have delivered the information to the people who want it. Let's see. So I've got some slides as well. Can you see my slides? Let's see. I can't see any of you. Dorothy, can you speak up?
Yeah. It's a black screen right now, actually.
Only a black screen.
Yeah. Maybe exit out and
let's see.
Try again.
Let's see. Let's see.
Or select one of the other screen share options.
Mm-hmm.
I saw your cursor.
How about now?
Yeah.
Yes, now we see it.
Ooh. So, under what circumstances should somebody share information on Wikipedia? It's a question that comes up a lot. There's not a lot of scope to this. I'm going to deeply address the question. What I want people to walk away from this presentation with is the ability to have discussions with other people about the extent to which it makes sense to add health information to Wikipedia if your goal is to reach people who are looking for health information. When someone's going to have a discussion about Wikipedia, there's two things that come up. The first issue which often arises is that somebody says that Wikipedia is a dubious source of information. Anyone can add information to Wikipedia. The quality is suspect. Surely other sources are out there that are better. Why would anyone spend their time talking about Wikipedia when its information is so doubtful? I'm not going to address that at all. I think that there's legitimacy to those claims. There's a lot of quality problems with Wikipedia's content. I'm not going to say anything about the other information that's available on the internet, even though it's my personal opinion that Wikipedia is competitive with any other source of information on the internet, and actually its quality is something that anyone can be proud to share. I personally think that Wikipedia's quality, it's quite good, but I just don't want that to come up. When someone is talking about Wikipedia, I prefer to talk about the other aspect of Wikipedia, leave the quality completely out of the conversation, and consider that Wikipedia, regardless of its quality, it gets a large number of readers. And if a person wants to get health information to the readers, then the size of Wikipedia's audience is so significant that it's just too big to ignore. And if Wikipedia's quality is troublesome, it's worth the effort to improve the quality of Wikipedia's content, because as a value proposition, it's less expensive, less cost-intensive to improve the quality of a given Wikipedia article than it would be to spend the resources to try to deliver the content to people through other communication channels. So just to say how Wikipedia works, Wikipedia is an online encyclopedia. The gimmick with Wikipedia, as compared to just about any other publication, is at the top of every encyclopedia article in this work, there's an edit button. And anybody can go to any Wikipedia article, click the edit button at the top, and change the text of the article however they like. So what's happening in Wikipedia, there's no pre-publication review. Anyone can change whatever they like in Wikipedia, and the quality control and review that happens is post-publication review. A few minutes after anyone does anything to any Wikipedia article, real humans with their real human eyes will look at the changes that have been proposed. If they seem legitimate, they'll let them stand, and then it goes on for quality check at some other level. If there's some problem, people will put it back to the way it was before. All content on Wikipedia gets reviewed by multiple sets of human eyes. That doesn't mean it's the best content, but there is a review process on Wikipedia. So anyone can edit anything on Wikipedia. That's what most people focus on. Because of this radical kind of publication platform, again, I'm going to say Wikipedia, it's completely in its infancy of development. This isn't a tested system. There's so much more research that needs to be done. Actually, in the field of medicine, there's probably about 100 academic articles and so many other opinion pieces in pop media and journalism talking about the quality of information. They say different things. Most of the research says that Wikipedia is comparable in quality to whatever else they're comparing in other media outlets. But I'm just going to say Wikipedia, it's just getting started. the more interesting aspect of Wikipedia, like I said, is that so many people go to Wikipedia. It's difficult to explain why that happens, but a big part of the reason is because at some point early in the development of Wikipedia, it just seems to be the case that Wikipedia was blessed or chosen by the major search engines, Google, Bing. The situation in health is that anytime anyone types in the name of a drug, a medical procedure, a disease, a health condition into their favorite search engine, it's very likely that the search engine is going to send people to a Wikipedia article to get their information. So whereas you might have, for a given disease, nonprofit organizations in every country, perhaps even in every division of the country, that all have their own websites, all have their own communication channels, dividing up that kind of traffic. When there's a Wikipedia article on a given subject, it seems to be the case that the world converges there to try to get information. And what I would say to anyone whose business it is to share health information, if you put your health information into Wikipedia and it's in line with Wikipedia community values, that's an effective way for you to disseminate your information, and Wikipedia will even give you the metrics to prove that you're achieving reach. So as Dorothy said in the beginning, I work for a nonprofit organization called Consumer Reports. Consumer Reports is a media organization. We have partnerships with medical specialty societies in the United States. A medical specialty society is it's a group where doctors in a particular field talk about that field. So for example, there's a cardiology society, a radiology, gynecology, urology, all these different medical specialties. They have health information. They, in my case, in this model that I'm using right now, they send information to my organization, Consumer Reports, and I try my best to get as much of that information onto Wikipedia as possible. And more than that, anybody who wants to share health information, I'll train them or arrange training for them so that they can put as much health information they want on Wikipedia. We definitely want more contributors, more participants, especially experts in the field. So supposing you're an expert in the field, or supposing you're some organization that wants to share health information on Wikipedia, how can you know that it's worth your while? Well, I would say that a good place to start is to consider the traffic that any Wikipedia article gets. Another thing that's unusual about Wikipedia, as compared to other websites, is that whereas most websites aren't so open about the amount of traffic that they're getting, on Wikipedia a person can see the traffic to any article within Wikipedia. And what I'm proposing is that if you're considering adding information to a Wikipedia article and you check the traffic of people who go to that article every month by the page view count, then if those numbers impress you, then it's worth your while to develop that Wikipedia article, make it as high quality as you can possibly make it. So in this example, I've got the Wikipedia article on electrocardiography, EKG, ECG. If one were to click on the View History button, and then there's another set of buttons that come up, click on Page View Statistics, one would see a graph like this. This is the daily traffic in terms of page views to that article. We can see that this article got 90,000 page views in 1 month of this year, and it's ranked very highly as one of the most popular articles on Wikipedia. And in fact, a lot of health articles on Wikipedia are among the most popular articles on Wikipedia. Health is a very important, very popular sector inside Wikipedia. In comparison to other websites, James showed a graph like this earlier. There's different ways that one can cut the statistics and cut the numbers, but in comparison to NIH, WebMD, Mayo Clinic, National Health Service in the UK, World Health Organization, UpToDate, the other big players in health information dissemination, it seems to be the case. Wikipedia is the bar all the way to the left here, the biggest bar. There's different ways of cutting the statistics. Most of the ways that one would cut the statistics seem to be indicating that Wikipedia is as popular or more popular than the other options through which health information is disseminated. So from the Wikipedia perspective, what does it mean for Wikipedians to collaborate with health organizations? What does it mean from the health organization perspective to collaborate with Wikipedia? There's a lot of pushing and shoving back between the two. From the Wikipedians' perspective, the goal of the community that's contributing to Wikipedia is to just provide the best possible health information to the most people as possible. We actually want the highest quality health information. From the perspective of organizations that are sharing health information, unfortunately, they're often very focused on their own copyrights, and they want to be leaders in their field. It would be nice if there could be some meeting in the middle where more free health information could make its way into Wikipedia so that it could just be disseminated as broadly as possible, even if that means disseminating it without brands sometimes. Wikipedia has its own quality control system. It's with the citations on the pages, not necessarily with the brand. So I just pulled out an example of a controversial space. I haven't touched this space myself, but it's a popular news story, genetically modified organisms. Supposing there's scientists, there's community groups, there's all these people who want to know about this particular topic. It's related to health. What should someone do? What should someone not do? Wikipedia tries to present all sides of the issue. It's not supposed to have a bias from one side or the other. Wikipedia wants everyone to come participate in these conversations. And supposing someone cared about this issue, they could look at the traffic to all of the Wikipedia articles that are covering this topic. The article on genetically modified organism, about 90,000 people per month. Genetically modified food, another 90,000. If you add these numbers together, it's a 250,000 people per month reach. This is where people are going for information to inform their decisions about their politics, their health, just for their own information. There's so many reasons why people come to Wikipedia. It's a great way to reach other people, and that's why I think it's so important for people to recognize what the audience of Wikipedia is. Who's tending all this information? James talked about this earlier. Sydney did as well. She said people from the Cochrane collaboration are interested in improving the quality of Wikipedia. I'm showing this chart just to say that there's a rating process on Wikipedia. Every Wikipedia article gets a grade by its importance and by its quality, and people monitor these things. There's a prioritization system by means of which the most viewed and most important articles are people try to get those the highest quality as possible, and the articles that are lower traffic, those are deprioritized. But really the goal is have the best possible information for every health topic on Wikipedia. Right now in English Wikipedia there's about 20,000 of those topics. And why I think it's so important to get all of these Wikipedia articles to be as good as possible is because even though Wikipedia is as popular as it is, the content in Wikipedia gets read and repeated in all other channels by the people who visit Wikipedia. When a journalist is writing an article on any health topic, it's very likely they're going to go to Wikipedia for background information. If somebody's discussing a topic with their friends, it's not unlikely that somebody in that social circle is going to go to Wikipedia, read the article, and share it with their friends. When you put your information in Wikipedia, it stays in Wikipedia for a long time, but more than that, it starts showing up in all kinds of places that you would never expect. That's it for me. Dorothy, you're muted.
Thank you so much, Lane. We're just going to scoot right along. And Carl will give a presentation for about 10 to 15 minutes, like everyone else, and then we'll have some question time. So no further ado, Carl is the coordinator of the Wikipedia Medical Translation Project, which got mentioned, I think, in all three of our presentations today, which means it's a hot topic right now. Carl?
Hey, I hope everyone can hear me. I think for a few reasons I might start a bit differently. Of course, what I'm working on has been talked about by everyone else, as you say.
Here, can you maybe mute your mic and then start again? And then unmute.
Okay,
right,
are you hearing me
good.
now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we mentioned my project, the project I'm working on, quite extensively. So for that reason, I think I might start a bit differently. As you can hear from my name, I'm not from the States, but I'm actually in Sweden, and I'm a medical student. And talking about the medical translation project sometimes requires selling our efforts a little bit. But I think we've got that covered, and we're all on the same side when it comes to knowing how important spreading knowledge is, especially when the knowledge actually has potential to save lives. As a personal goal, I think, if we can save a single child whose mother learns from us that it isn't right to deprive infants with diarrhea from water, or teach a single person how to avoid food-borne preventable diseases, then we've done a wonderful service. Instead, I'm going to say a few words about how I got involved with Wikipedia and why anyone can get involved and really make a difference. Basically, I think I signed up around 2006 when I was still in high school and did some very minor editing, fixing spelling mistakes and minor errors, as well as creating a few new articles about my hometown and about a singer I liked. This was way back when Wikipedia lacked loads of articles and it was very easy to contribute. As we all know, time passing, Wikipedia has grown to the point where there are articles on pretty much everything, including most medical subjects. All the while, I started medical school and my knowledge grew. So for me, it wasn't that much of a step to start some minor editing when it came to molecular biology articles. And when I began the infamous anatomy course, I found Wikipedia was an excellent source for anatomy images and used it extensively, as did my professors, although they would never admit it themselves. But I saw the images on their slides. What's been done is Wikipedia has used Gray's Anatomy 1918 version, uploaded everything, it's public domain, and combined with the search function, which everyone knows Wikipedia has, it was so much faster than looking up things up in my book. So all it took for me was some light reading up on copyright and asking in the right areas to find out that I myself had access to a number of books that had lost copyright status over the years, and there was much more to be found online through HathiTrust, the NIH, the National Health Organization, or the National Institute of Health in the United States, and connections where I could just cut and paste images and text and upload them. From there, of course, I got into writing content, learning about sourcing requirements, and everything else that was required from a Wikipedia editor. The reason I tell this story is not that it ties into what I'm focused on today, but more as an example of how insignificant your first edits can be, and you can still progress from the seemingly very small to much larger impact stuff quite easily. It also illustrates that regardless of your expertise, you're welcome on Wikipedia, as long as you follow our rules, and we desperately need you. I got involved in this particular project when I was looking to expand some content on the Swedish Wikipedia and found there were medical articles already translated and only needed integration, so it was much easier for me when I didn't need to do the translations myself. So basically, we're at the situation with English content where we can find articles on pretty much anything from rare surgical procedures and diseases that much of the public would never have had easy access to before. The same is not true when it comes to other languages. Although there's decent content in French, German, Spanish, we're missing anything at all for billions of people around the world, as we mentioned. Just consider some of the major Indian languages, Malayalam or Urdu, or the Indonesian language. These are spoken by over 50 million people each, and many languages spoken by millions of people aren't represented in government health information, let alone online. Many countries, such as Nigeria or Cameroon, might have an official language that is the preferred language of only a very small minority of the population. Although people may have a rudimentary understanding of what they're reading, they won't choose this language, and many have very poor understanding. It's one thing to speak a language when you're in the city market, and it's another thing when you're talking about life-altering decisions and whether to get treatment for a disease. When it comes to medical content, it's even more important that the language of information is your own. When it comes to a disease or a condition you or your loved one has, it's so important to understand what the information is that's offered. I believe we have real potential to empower people with this work, and in those villages around the world where there are people who can't read or write, there's hopefully at least someone who can read the local language. And Wikipedia, through Wikipedia Zero, has tremendous potential to reach people, and we have countries that have no other sources. For example, Myanmar or Uganda, and a large number of other third world nations which we can reach. So, while some may argue that English is fine, when you look at what people prefer, it's their own language. Medical content can even be hard to assess for a layperson who's fluent in English. So just due to the sheer amount of jargon, at Wikipedia we work very hard to simplify the jargon, and we're working on simplifying English versions of all our medical articles. I argue this isn't enough. So for this reason, we've been teaming up with Translators Without Borders and Rubric to push translations of high-quality content. Where we are today is really inspiring from you. We've expanded our reach so that this year, with the impending Ebola crisis, we were able to roll out our content on Ebola in nearly 100 different languages. We reach more languages and countries than the World Health Organization does, and we've translated content in more languages than they do. So our views are far above what the World Health Organization and similar entities have. So our goal sometime in the future will be to have 1,000 articles on major health topics in 100 different languages. And we feel we're well on our way towards achieving that. This is wonderful, but also very daunting for us, because it puts high demands on our content for accuracy and simply that the articles cover everything they need to. This is clear when it comes to medical content in English, and with nearly 500,000 page views on the Ebola article in a single day in the beginning of August, but it's just as important for the articles we translate. For readability reasons and to keep translating a large number of articles feasible, we need to keep our articles short, down to 4 paragraphs of text. The articles are going to need to cover what we know people want to read: causes, treatment, prevention, outcomes. This has been the pitfall of earlier projects. For example, one run by Google that didn't take into account the quality of content that was translated. Currently, we're at around 60 of these simplified articles finished, and over 30 full, roughly between 5,000 and 10,000 word articles, which are ready to be translated, and we're working our way through them all with over 700 articles translated to date. So, as James likely has said, it isn't a matter of if Wikipedia should be a good source of health information, but rather of it needing to be a good source. And that was also mentioned by Lane. So it's just on account how many readers we have. What I want to end by saying is that we need everyone. So all our listeners, we need you. Anyone who wants to help out, write articles for translation, translate articles, integrating them so that they're live, and also we need help maintaining the project. There are so many administrative tasks involved as well. So just get in contact with us and we'll help you get involved in any way you want.
Great, thank you so much, Carl. That was very informative, and I'm glad that we had someone from Sweden representing the MED project. I think it really speaks to sort of the internationality that we have going here, and when you start engaging with medicine and Wikipedia, the kinds of connections all over the world that you can really build. Now we're going to open it up to question time, and I'm actually going to be starting the questions, and then I'll be monitoring the Twitter to see if we have questions from our outside audience. So again, if you have a question, you can tweet directly at me. That's Dorothy R_Howard. And you can also tweet at MNYLC, but I would prefer that you just go straight to my Twitter so I can catch it. So let's start out. My first question, so our audience today I think is going to be primarily librarians and archivists. So hospital librarians, medical librarians. I'm also expecting we have viewing us today some faculty at universities that are researching science, and as well as our Wikipedia audience and anyone else that finds us. But I'm just wondering if anyone wants to comment on what librarians, whether that's a hospital librarian or a university librarian, can do in particular to help out with Wiki Project Medicine or any of the projects you're working on. There's a lot of potentials here, and I think the argument has been made for contributing, but what's a next step for a librarian? Does anyone want to answer that? And make sure to unmute your mic if you're gonna speak.
So, James Heilman here. With respect to what role librarians can play, librarians have a great deal of expertise in finding high-quality literature. So, we would, we do need people. We have a great number of students editing Wikipedia at this point in time, and we really need greater support to help guide these students to contribute to Wikipedia appropriately. And one of the methods of guidance that they require is an understanding of what is and what isn't a high-quality source, and then help finding those sources. So I think librarians could definitely play a role.
Great. If no one else wants to answer, just following up on that. So you use the word high-quality source. Can you give another definition of what that means for medical articles on Wikipedia? And it's open to anyone.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, one of the first things we really want people to do is to just get in contact with the community. Of course, what James mentions is incredibly important, but the best way to get started, whatever you want to do, is to talk to us. So, and that's possible through our talk page over at Wiki Project Medicine. And the link, if you type in Wikipedia, it's WT Med, with semicolon in between. So, anyone want to take the source question?
Sure. So with respect to what qualifies as a high-quality source for medical content on Wikipedia, we prize high-quality secondary sources. And what qualifies as a high-quality secondary source is, it typically requires, we want it to be fairly recent. So if you're writing about a major topic, the references you should be using should be from the last 3 to 5, maybe 10 years, but they shouldn't be older than that. They also should be from a publication that has a history of reliability. So the World Health Organization, the CDC, the Cochrane Collaboration, the Lancet, the BMJ. We favor those over articles published by minor or non-notable publishers who don't have a history of publishing high-quality content. Now, with respect to journal articles, and this is a place where a lot of people struggle, is we want people to use review articles rather than primary research studies. Often there are a number of primary research studies in medicine that look at one specific question, and just because of the nature of doing trials, they come to varying results. So to get an overall view of what the opinion of the scientific community is, we typically use review articles such as literature reviews or systematic reviews and meta-analysis, where an expert in the field has gone through all the primary research in a somewhat systematic manner to come to a summary of what all this primary research means in the real world. Dorothy,
you're muted.
Hi. I just wanted to quickly show our viewers the Wiki Project Medicine page, because I know we mentioned it numerous times, but just to let's see, just to, you see it? Does everyone see it? Can you give me a thumbs up if you see it? Okay, so this is Wiki Project Medicine. You can find it by just typing in Wiki Project Medicine on Google. It'll be the first thing that comes up. And so Carl mentioned you know, how do you get in touch with these folks? I think there's a lot of really good resources on here. Everything from what we were talking about, identifying reliable sources. So there's a whole page here that you can really read into that. There's also a long list of participants, and the top page, I'm circling it with my mouse, is a really good place to just jump into the conversation. This is the main page, top page. Now I'm signed in to Wikipedia, and all that requires is registering a username and password, and then you can sign right in. And on the top page, what we have is basically a notice board. So people are asking questions. They're asking questions about quality, about sources, about how to get involved. And if you want to message this community, you can just click on New Section and write a little message up and press Save. And that'll create a new section right on the top page, just like this, where other people can respond. So I just wanted to do a little demo of Wiki Project Medicine. You'll find all sorts of interesting things here, from statistics, some of the charts that were brought up today, to resources to actually begin editing, to current events. Is that a pretty good summary of that page? Let me stop that screen share now. I know there's a lot of resources out here, and I think the most difficult thing for me is telling people where to start. Where would you tell someone to start if they were, okay, I believe everything you say, I'm ready to get involved? What's that first step like?
If I could take that, I would encourage people as their first step not really writing an article. I mean, I would find a topic that they're interested in something related to healthcare. Read several of the articles and see if there's something there that seems outdated, and go look for a reference that they can use to update that. And that's a really good way for them to practice seeing how they can fit information into Wikipedia, and also practice learning how to write references. Because right off the bat, they're going to need to know how to do all of those things, and taking on writing a whole new article, or even writing a really large section to an article, is going to be something that's going to be a more difficult task to do. So I like to start small and have people gradually integrate themselves into writing on Wikipedia.
Okay. Thanks for that, Sydney. Carl, I wanted to ask you a question in particular, if that's okay. I'm curious to know more about who's actually involved in the translation project. It seems like this is actually an area of Wikipedia that I'm not really familiar with, so I'm still kind of learning about what you do as well. And I'm just curious, how does it work? Like, if I write a Wikipedia article in English, who's going to translate that? Is that something I can ask for? Is that something that just automatically is being done? What's the process like there?
Well, as we're trying to have some form of quality control, we've been assessing content, and we've been preparing content. So it's down to a number of criteria, very similar to good article or featured article criteria, but for smaller articles. We're not really entirely transparent as to how we make the choice yet, but that's definitely something we want to get to. But what we've been doing is we've been preparing these articles, sending them out through our collaborators at Translators Without Borders, but we also have independent collaborators who, for example, in Italian, have decided to take on the role of translating all the content we've deemed is quality, and so it's sent through them. They do the translation, and we simply we're happy to help them in any way, because many of these translators through Translators Without Borders aren't Wikipedians. They don't know the markup. So we've developed systems where you just translate the colored text and leave all the markup in place. So we're working hard with that type of system, but it's been proving pretty successful thus far.
Yes, to clarify further on exactly how an article gets chosen to be put on the translation list. So currently we have a list of articles that are up for translation. And if you want a full article translated, what needs to occur is that article needs to be at least a good article or a featured article, and it needs to be written in simple language. And I personally need to be happy with it. So I'm sort of the gatekeeper with respect to what content goes up to the translators and when content is good enough to be translated. Now, we've moved from working on translating full articles to translating short articles. And what these short articles are, they're basically the leads of the English Wikipedia article. So, for example, if you look at the article on rabies, I've gone through the article on rabies and I've improved the lead of the article such that it's a 4-paragraph, simple overview of the condition in question. Probably not as simple as it should be, but those are the 4 paragraphs we're sending out for translation. We're not sending out the whole article. Now, if other people want to work on improving leads of English articles that haven't already been improved, once they've improved that lead, if they just want to notify me, I will then go over it, and if probably make some comments, and if it's good at that point there, we will add it to the list of articles that we will send out for translation. And I would love to have more people join me. There's a few people who are writing these leads of articles. I would love to have more people involved with writing the leads of these articles with me, and I'm happy to have people send me ones that they think would should be translated, are good enough to be sent off to be translated.
Thank you. That's a very useful comment. I have another question for everyone. We've been talking about improving content, and Lane mentioned references. We've been talking about improving the article quality itself, and I found it really interesting, Carl, you brought up how the Grey's Anatomy images have been uploaded into Pages. I wonder if anyone can comment on images in the medical articles and where are those being sourced from. And I've noticed myself that there's a lot of really cool tables and charts and even embedded video examples in Wikipedia articles. Where are those coming from, and is that part of your project as well?
Yes, so our media comes from a number of different places. One collaboration we have is with Cancer Research UK, and that organization has donated a few hundred images to Wikipedia. Many of our images come from our editor community. So, for example, I take a lot of pictures of patients, of course, with appropriate consent, and I upload those images after getting consent to Wikipedia. Other physicians also upload images. Some of our images come from other sources that are under a compatible license. So, for example, the CDC and other U.S. government websites are under a Wikipedia compatible license. There's also a number of journals that publish under a Wikipedia compatible license that we're able to add to Wikipedia. And so, our content comes from a number of sources. We've actually gone out and we've requested some organization to release us content. Right now, we're working to try to convince the World Health Organization to move to a Creative Commons license. We've had some limited success. The World Health Organization has recently released the bulletin of the World Health Organization under a CC BY SA license, so compatible with Wikipedia. And our congratulations to them for that little move. But we hope to convince them to do more.
Yeah, and I'd also like to add some insight into some of the sources that are out there. As I mentioned, there are a couple of compatible license textbooks, for example, by Connections or OpenStax, and there's such a wealth of resources that are older than the required amount of years. I think it's anything prior to 1923 is free, and there are loads of anatomy atlases, and there's lots of content about different surgical procedures. A lot of it might not be up to date, but when it comes to certain things, it definitely is. And that is definitely somewhere where libraries come into play, because I've been using different library resources immensely, finding images for different structures, etc. And HathiTrust, the major repository for older books, is amazing, and I've uploaded a couple of thousand images from there.
Fabulous. Yeah. Just to speak to that myself, I've been working with some institutions to upload images, and I've been interested in all of the sources those come from. I think James mentioned doctors taking those images. We have books as Carl's example, and then there's also a lot of museums that have images of medical history, older images. And I think those are fascinating because they're a combination of, historical, the documentation of medical history, but can also serve as, they can still serve as good images illustrating various topics. So I've noticed, I can't remember, was it the Wellcome Trust recently donated a lot of medical history images, and those are just starting to pop up, and there's all sorts of stuff out there.
Yeah, and I think it's very important that we're given access to these types of images, because there's such a wealth out on the internet, and it's not all easy to find. But once we get it on Wikipedia and categorize it properly, it's so much easier to find what you're looking for, and you can just search for the type of image you're looking for, and it might pop up. And although Wikiproject Medicine doesn't have a primarily historical focus, we're very happy for any history-related images as well. And there are definitely people on Wikipedia that really want to work on the history of medicine as well.
If I could add one thing as well. In addition to thinking, I think it's important for also to realize that we have a very global audience, and so although we may have one good image of a person, being treated medically, from one culture, it's really important for us to try to get as many images as we can of people having treatments done all around the world. And so this is where working with an organization like Cochrane, who has people all over the world, we have the ability to reach out to them and invite them to come in and share the images that they see and use in their language and get those into our Wikipedia Commons, so that people then can go and find them there and use them in their patient teaching resources, in their own textbooks they're writing, or the articles they're writing, or even in their own language Wikipedias. So we really need duplicates of many things from many different angles, many different skin tones, and in many different cultural settings, different genders as well. So we really can't have enough, actually. So I encourage people to not just think if they see an image that it's taken care of, but continue to upload many more images as well.
That's a really good point. Having a diversity of images, I think, is just as important as having a diversity of, of perspectives in the written sections of Wikipedia articles. Really
and one of the benefits that comes with that is we have the possibility to display a lot more images than a medical textbook. So we don't have to display the textbook example of a disease, but we can display several stages of the disease, and maybe a milder state won't give the same type of very graphic symptoms. So we can show all of it, and that's definitely something we want to do.
You know what? It's just about 3:20, so we're 8 minutes over. I think we should call it a day. Does anyone have any final comments? All right. So as far as getting in touch with these lovely folks, we will have contact information. There'll probably be links to their Wikipedia user pages, or I'm going to ask each speaker what's the best way to get in touch. So, and also we might have these slides uploaded. So if you're tuning in, you can check back in the main event page, and soon we'll have some of those follow-up resources listed there. This video, which you're watching now, will be available on the Metropolitan New York Library Council YouTube channel, and that link should be posted in a variety of places. You could probably also just search for that in YouTube and get it right away. So I'm going to say goodbye and stop broadcast. Speakers, you can just hold on for one moment and we'll just stay on. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.